Hello, we're back. This is my third and final installment of Your Brain and Your Gut, the series. And the first one I spoke about, I introduced the idea of going within yourself and kind of stop relying on everyone else to tell you shit that you can get yourself and your own inner wisdom and all that shit. And so the second video I spoke about how to do that, and I talked about thoughts and kind of diving deeper than thought and stuff like that and finding out your visceral reactions to things. And now I want to talk about in the context of like making decisions and seeing your values based on your feelings and things like that. So whenever I think of this, I think of a job I had previously, and I remember I would wake up early every morning, do the whole thing, coffee and commute, and I would like wake up and I would be in such a great mood, in such a great state. I'd be listening to my funny podcast, I'd be laughing on my car ride home, on my car ride to the work rather, and I would be feeling so great. And then when I got to the parking lot, I have to work, and my whole body would become lead, and I'm in this chair and I don't want to leave. And I would find every excuse in the world to not leave the chair. I was like, you know what, let me meditate right now before I go to work. And then I'd be late. Or then I started making videos. I'm like, let me make some videos in my car before work. And you'll notice probably that a lot of some of my videos in the beginning are in my car, and that's before work because I don't want to go to work. I'm avoiding it. And and then at some point I remember I started going to really early, and I'm like, you know what, let me take a nap because I really don't want to be at work. So I found every excuse I could to delay that. And then eventually I was summon up the courage or willpower or whatever to leave the car and walk toward the office door. And I remember going up those steps and I would feel this huge dread. I'm like, oh my God, I really wish I wouldn't be here. And I'd feel that in my heart and a whole fucking body, oh, why are we here? And I rationalized, well, I need the money. And I left and I jumped on the next opportunity I could. And the point is that my gut was screaming at me for this thing to leave, and I did leave, and I think that there are very visceral reactions happening that are telling you things and they're giving you signals, and had I not been aware of that, it's a hard thing to not be aware of that. First of all, everything in me is screaming that I want to be there. But, you let yourself know in a lot of ways. But it's complicated because it's not always so clear. Because what if you have a new job and it's really exciting and you're really nervous, or you're on a second date and you're looking forward to it, and you're about to go on the second date with this person you're really excited about, and you're nervous as hell. And it's also an unpleasant feeling. But does that mean that you shouldn't be there? I mean, I argue that no, because it doesn't prove that, because if anything, that nervousness and that anxiety is a symbol. It could be a symbol that you really want it. You want it so bad that you're afraid to fuck it up, and then therefore you're putting all this pressure on yourself, oh my God, I hope I don't fuck this up. I hope this goes exactly as I want it to. And you want the date to go well, or you want the job to go well, and you don't want to go back to what you had before. So it's an equally unpleasant feeling, but it comes from a different place than that dread that in my example. So that's the only way to know for sure which one it is to really go within and ask, why am I nervous? And sit, feel it, and then with the model I provided, or for me, I get that answer. I'm like, oh, well, I'm nervous because I don't want to fuck it up. Okay, so that must mean I really want it then. Yeah, I guess so. Or why am I trying this? Because I really don't want to be there, and I feel like there's a million other things I could do with my time, and the money isn't worth it. Oh, okay, well, that's my answer. And, I didn't think it was worth it, but there are a ton of people who have jobs and maybe they're not in love with, but they'll do it. They'll suck it up and make that sacrifice because they love the lifestyle it gives them. Like, they'll love the money, they'll love the car it gives them, they'll love the apartment it gives them, and then they could travel all these places and they could afford all this shit. And I'm not going to judge that, honestly, because that's cool and that's a choice. You know, maybe you're a provider, you need to provide for family, and it gives you a good living. But I just hope that that's a conscious choice, you know? I can't judge that because we're all here for different shit. We're all living life for different reasons. And we all have different values. And, because think about it, like, look at a nun or a monk. Like, what are they? They live for, like, their values are chastity and modesty and devotion and worship. And if they're on their deathbed and they're going to die, and they look back on their life and like, man, there's a lot of times I could have been tempted. There's a lot of times I could have had sex, I could have indulged in all kinds of shit, but I didn't. And to them, that's proof of their willpower and their devotion and their power of their devotion towards whatever they're worshiping. And they'll fucking die with a smile on their face. And then you and me might look at that as like, fuck that. I would get laid and I would get fucked up and I would indulge as much as they're stupid. But who are we to judge? That's how they want to live, you know? Like, same thing if, like, with, like, people who are, like, huge thrill seekers. Like, they, like, maybe they'll do this, like, dangerous street racing, or they'll jump off of cliffs and, like, skydive a bunch of times. And you or me would be like, why would you take such stupid risks? Like, you're stupid. But who are we to judge? They could be like, they'll look back on their life and be like, I had some amazing experiences and my blood was pumping and I didn't know if I was going to make it, but I loved it. You know? There's always a point where we can judge, and then we can judge a CEO, and, you know, it's kind of reminds that story. I don't know if CEOs get to where they are because of this, but they came from nothing and they worked hard, you know, and they, like, had no life, as we would say, and they, like, built this company, and then they brought themselves up to, like, a different socioeconomic status, and they, like, worked their ass off, and now they have this company, they employ all these people, and they're like, they look back, I'm like, wow, I worked my ass off, I sacrificed a lot of shit, but I built this amazing thing and employed some people. That's awesome. And then you and me could say, no, you know, you're a workaholic. You should have a life. You, like, need balance. You take money from people and shit. And who are we to judge? That's how they want to live. So the question is, for you and for me, is how do you want to live? You know? Like, what's your value? What's your thing guiding you? Because it sucks, like, because we got to be clear on that, because it sucks to be like, if you don't want to be in a cubicle, if you want to be in a cubicle, that's cool. If you have a cool administrative job that does shit that is important to you, that's awesome. But if you're in a cubicle for no reason other than for it, like, allows you to survive, and then you're dreaming of jumping off of cliffs and hang gliding, putting a GoPro on your head and filming that shit, chances are you're going to be probably pretty miserable. Because, you know, your gut is telling you to do something, but then you're doing other shit, you know, and then your mind's even telling you, like, in the form of daydreams, to do something, and then you're not doing it. You're just kind of, like, forcing yourself to, in this, like, you're the square peg going the round hole. It'll go in with a fucking hammer, but, you know, it won't be pleasant. And we gotta get clear on that. We do, and that's something, that's being congruent. That's so huge, and that's kind of, if you watch any of my videos, like, that's a huge point of this video. It's like, you find out what your gut is screaming at you to do. Your brain is telling you to do through daydreams, and you dream of these things, and that's what I want for myself. We can get the gut and the brain on the same level, where we trust it, and then where we trust it to the point that we're willing to alter our whole lives for it. We build our lives on that dream and that yearning, and then we trust our brain, our gut and our brain to make decisions, and then we know this will work out because I trust myself and my instincts. That's living. I've said it a million times. That's a confident person, because that's a person who believes in themselves, and that's a person who knows themselves and is aware of what's going on. That's what I want for myself. That's fucking living. And honestly, that's what I hope for you. To be clear on what you want, and it takes courage. If you need to be fucking brave to take those risks. Because everybody else think you're crazy, but then you, like, look inside yourself like, no, I know I can do it. So that's what I hope for you too. So, as always, thanks a lot. Stay tuned. I got more stuff. Peace out.